Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for March the 7th, 2017. Let's begin with our draft minutes from the February 28th meeting. I'll move to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. On to our administrative agenda.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. There's no consent agenda. The first item on the administrative agenda is a filing by Radiate Holdings as an indirect parent of Star Power Communications, LLC, DBA RCN, a notice of assumption of debt.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Chairman, Commissioners. This item addresses a filing that notifies the Commission of an acquisition and a financing transaction in which a Maryland telecommunications company named Star Power Communications will pledge its ownership shares and their assets. In its comments, staff notes that the requirement for Commission approval of an acquisition or incurrence of a liability by a public service company does not apply here. Staff believes that the applicants have demonstrated that the acquisition and new liability are in the public interest. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission note the acquisition and the new liability.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. Any questions for staff? If not, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we note the acquisition and financing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 2 on the agenda is a filing by ZAP Utility, LLC, an application for a license to supply electricity or electric generation services in Maryland.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kenneth Albert for staff. This item addressed a request by ZAP for authorization to operate as an electricity broker for residential, commercial, and industrial customers. Their management team has significant experience in the energy industry. ZAP does not operate as a supplier in any other state. We've reviewed their website and find it satisfactory, and we believe that ZAP is qualified to act as a broker. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission authorize ZAP to operate as an electricity broker with the conditions noted in staff's comments.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? If not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the company a license to operate as an electricity supplier in Maryland, limited to broker and aggregator services for all customer classes and service territories applied for and recommended by staff. Further, direct the company to provide marketing and training materials specific to its Maryland operations to the Commission, staff, and the Office of People's Counsel 30 days prior to utilization of the materials in Maryland. And lastly, direct the company to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any change to the information in the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 3 is a filing by the Potomac Edison Company, a request for a waiver of CPCN requirements to perform work on the Beddington-Reed 138 kV transmission line and the Halfway Paramount number 138 kV transmission line in order to address clearance issues pursuant to Section 7-206B4I.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff. On February 1, 2018, the Potomac Edison Company filed a request for a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity waiver pursuant to Public Utilities Article 7-207B4. And it is, as was stated, to perform work on the Beddington-Reed 138 kV transmission line and the Halfway Paramount number 138 kV transmission line. The waivers, the repair is to address certain clearance issues which Potomac Edison personnel discovered that these lines were no longer in compliance with regard to that during a routine light detection and ranging survey. PUA 207 requires a person to obtain a CPCN prior to commencing construction of an overhead transmission line that is designed to carry a voltage in excess of 69,000 volts, where construction is related to an existing overhead line designed to carry a voltage in excess of 69,000 volts. The Commission shall waive the waiver to obtain a CPCN if the Commission finds that the construction does not either require the person to obtain new real property or additional rights of way through eminent domain, or require larger or higher structures to accommodate either increased voltage or larger conductors. Within 30 days after construction is completed, related to an existing overhead line necessary to avoid and an imminent safety hazard or reliability risk. This is a reliability risk. A person shall file a report with the commission describing the work that was completed. Staff concludes that the statutory requirement under PUA 7207B4 for obtaining a waiver of the CPCN requirement is satisfied, and upon completion of its review of the filings and discovery of the filings, staff recommends that the Commission grant a waiver of the CPCN requirement for this project pursuant to the statute for construction of the 2 lines discussed in staff's comments.
All right, thank you. Any questions? We'll start with Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, does staff know if this is a series of LiDAR-related clearance issues in the PE territory that we're going to continue to see? It seems like we've seen several of them now.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is Christopher Lowe with staff. This clearance problems were triggered by the same LiDAR surveys that they performed last time. They also brought it up during the last admin meeting in November. So I believe the last time they mentioned there are 2 potential clearance problems, and these are the 2 lines. And I don't believe there's any more problem.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
I would just be interested to know, given that we just had a very high wind weather event, were there any these concerns confirmed with these particular lines? Were there any particular problems that resulted from the high winds?
Well, I know that the company, they don't have a routine LiDAR survey to check for the NESC clearance.
I was just
But,
interested to know, given that the concern was that under high wind events that
Right.
there could be a problem with the swaying. So I was just curious, since we just had a high wind event, if that
I'm
occurred.
sorry. When they design the structure, they're required to satisfy a certain NESC requirement to comply with the horizontal clearance. So I believe most of the structure are safe, unless they alerted by the NERC. Then they have to perform LiDAR surveys.
And we have the company here with us as well.
Yes.
So,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Trout.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Jeffrey Trout for Potomac Edison Company. No problems were reported to our engineers in the recent wind event. Nonetheless, we still believe that the 2 mid-span structures should be added as requested.
Okay. Yeah, I have no concerns with the request. I was just interested to know, since we just experienced a high wind event, if anything happened. So thank you.
Nothing was reported.
Well, thank you. Anything else? All right, if not, I want to thank Mr. Lowe for his analysis. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 3, I move we grant the company the requested waiver of the requirement to obtain a CPCN for this project pursuant to Public Utilities Article 7-207B4I.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, thanks, everyone. We are adjourned.